Hello everyone tuning in around the world, and welcome to the Mexican Grand Prix, the last round of this year's F2 Championship. Obviously, you are joined with me to be continuing today and briefly in default. Track consists overall of 13 corners, 8 to the left and 5 to the right with 2 notable straights. The long swing right hand is turn 1 and 13, punt the long straight provide a unique peculiar challenge for the driver's turn. The right, left, right of turns 2, 3 and 4, punt straight, second straight, followed by turn 6, hard braking zone, crucial pace to make up time. Feed you directly into turns 8 and 9, past the grandstand section, reminiscent of the real life Mexican Grand Prix, into the more open glass sector. The track isn't particularly long one either, it's one of the shortest we've had since the mid-season break, but obviously that doesn't mean that it won't bring us some exciting F2 racing, as we've seen the whole of this season so far. The track's obviously going to provide lots of overtaking opportunities, so stay with us as we enter the final stages of the qualifying. So, as you can see currently, Loosebot is currently in P1 taking the lead. Obviously that's interesting compared to what we've seen in FP1. But before we dive into the current standings of qualifying, we will look at the team standings and driver standings. So if we have a look quickly at the driver standings, we can see that the two Century GP drivers of Melodic Adrian and Capitan Bo obviously at the top. Obviously Capitan Bo making his debut appearance at Spirit in F1. Will not be racing in F2 anymore as he finishes P1, so congratulations to him on that. Wolf Landry of the Brandstar Academy driver also obviously was in F2. He's no longer doing it anymon. He's taken in P3, so those top three already no longer participating in F2 other than Melodic. Then is followed by Le Coupier of the Aston Martin team, the AMR, followed by Real Miggy of Vexala, and that tops off the top 5. Obviously you can see it's then very confusing from there. And if we then look over to the team standings, we can see Century GP are on top with Melodic bringing them along, followed by Brandstar Academy, obviously who had their main driver Wolf Landry, now got Drip Department who's currently in P4. He'll be able to provide them with some significant points. AMR is currently in P3 with their star driver Real Miggy, followed by Catano Sports, Porsche, Vexala, Lotus GP, Audi Sport Junior, TSA, Valor F2, HWA and Windsor. So we can see that middle section from P4 all the way down to P11 really. It's quite tight, only separated by about 50 points, so it can change very quickly obviously. And if we look over now to the scoring system, for those of you who aren't familiar with the runnings of Ion, we can see that for the two individual races, the sprint race, top 8 earn points, with the fastest lap also receiving 1 point, P1 receiving 15 points, P2 12, P3 10, moving all the way down to 1 point. The feature race, which is the longer race in the second one, you earn points all the way from P10, with the fastest lap also being awarded 1 point, as long as we're in that top 10. And P1 being awarded 25 points, P2 18, and P3 15. And qualifying pole position is also awarded 4 points. So now that we've had a look at the current standings and how it's scoring, we will take a look over to the current overlay of racing. We can see that currently Kaya, the brand new AMR driver, is currently topping off in P1, followed by Indominus Rex, AG Capadona and Loosebot finishing up the top 4. But with much change to happen, Nitro Turnsty from the Valor F2 driver of Sims hasn't been driving for a while, but he's slowly back. Obviously no more Rap God after he's banned, so he will no longer be racing in the F2 Championship, so no more Albania for any of you guys out there. But yeah, it's set to be an interesting race here, and Mexico should provide an interesting track for the drivers. As we'll go on board a hot lap with the current championship leader himself. As you can see, we'll come back to him once he gets to the start of that lap, as he's finishing an out lap to go into a hot lap. Melodic looking for a pole position here so we can get those 4 points, set himself up for a good sprint race, and then obviously we have the reverse grid of the feature race. Here you can see Melodic coming down the home straight now to start us off with our hot lap, as I'll talk you through it. You can see the lap starts off with a quite long right-hander, the second right-hander again. Same touch on the sharp left-hander, again the second left-hand, snaps back to the right-hander, all the way back round onto the back straight, which isn't too long, but gives you enough chance to get right. Obviously the drivers do have a picture, which will allow them to help them overtake. Then heavy braking zone into this sharp right-hander. Sharp left-hander, sharp as we come up to the main section of the track. This is the round-down section. Start off with a right, sharp left, and you really don't want to run too wide in the exit. You can see a lot of them snapping over here, rear sliding out. If you run too wide, you can go all the way over those bumps. Again, you can see a fast right-hander. Drivers were using that going on the ground, they've added exit curve. So a second fast right-hander, we just have two exits. Flick back onto the left-hander, pit lane exit on the right-hand, and that is a hot lap at the Mexican Grand Prix. So drivers Melodic's now coming across the line. He sets time, bringing him up to P5. I'm sure he'll be looking to improve on that. It's a good initial start. Just slotting behind the loose spot, obviously. And he will now be on his cool down lap. Meanwhile, the real Botty Boy, the brand new Century GP driver, obviously he is the owner of Valor as well, so he's technical owner of Valor F2 and the F1 team. Is going to be the replacement driver for Capitan for this weekend, obviously. He's just set a green sector 1. He'll be looking to try and catch up with his teammate as he's currently in P9. Seeing a little bit of lag now from the server, only 45 seconds remaining. And there he comes across the line, setting a very fast time, a P4, overtaking loose bot and pushing his teammate down to P6. So yeah, that's a very convincing time. Green sectors all across the board there. So he's really shown his true pace. Interesting, we haven't seen him before, maybe with another lower ranking team. As we look over to the current pole sitter, Kaya, setting a green sector 1, unfortunately sets a yellow sector 2. Obviously we don't know by how much of a difference. Repping the AMR, if we look back to the standings, it'll be very interesting to see if that could if he is able to get two good positions for these races, if he's able to get some good points for his team. AMR, obviously, who are currently P3. He comes across the line. I believe he just improves on his time. Obviously, not significantly. He's now P1. And there, the qualifying is up now. Drivers coming round. Interestingly, Melodic's only able to start in P6. The Valor, brand new high reps driver Sims, all the way down to P14. Loose beginning to finish in P5 now. Indominus Rex and AG Capitana in P2 and 3. So the team there, Catano, obviously they're going to be very happy with that position. P2 and P3, that's going to be great constructor points. As we'll see the drivers begin to line up on the grid now. For the first of the two races, the sprint race, as we obviously went over earlier. Top 8 get points. There we see them beginning to line up. Indominus Rex lining up P1 for some reason. Not sure what that's about. Be interesting to see. You can see loose bot already lined up. Yeah, Dominic's still in P1, I'm sure. An official or marshal will have to tell him that. Itchy Capitano taking his position in P2 there. Real bossy boy lining up in P5. Looking to have a good race. Good debut for Century GP, so we'll see what he's able to do. Obviously, if you're talking points going into this weekend, we've already discussed that big midfield team battle. Capitan obviously moving out to join E-Spirit and make the move to F1. In FP1, AG Capadona topped off the position in P1. So he's obviously starting on the front row, second of the grid, so he could be really potential for a race winner here, and he could really be pushing back in that feature race. Obviously there will be collisions after a certain amount of laps in the sprint race. If we then look back obviously at FP1 again, don't know why I keep saying obviously, in not ominous, finished P2, he was currently P16 in the championship. So that's quite surprising that he was able to win P2. Didn't actually see him on the leaderboard, so if he was here I would say he could again be potentially a possible race winner, could have some real influence. Some drivers seem to be moving up now, as I believe someone may have disconnected. Incognito Bear taking P3 there. Seen a little bit of him in and about. Real Miggy all the way back there for Vexala, which is a surprise. We've seen a lot of potential from him. He's got a lot of fans for him, a lot of support, so it's unfortunate that he's having to start all the way back there. He may be able to get benefited by that reverse grid of the top 8. There is Melodic Adrian taking his position. I think Police Bot will need to move up into P5. Melodic's gone there as well. Yeah, and there he moves. So we're all set now for the first of the 2 races, the sprint race. Obviously with the collisions making it arguably 10 times harder for all the drivers. Top 3 is going to be Indominus Rex, followed by AG Capadona, both of them obviously same team, and then top of 3rd by Incognito Bear of the Windsor team. Windsor team not doing particularly well in constructors right now, so he'll be looking to get them some points, move them up. Obviously that midfield battle that we discussed earlier is really prominent, so he'll be able to potentially get some points from that and work his way up even more significantly from that and work his way. Looks like they're all lining up now, just getting ready to go. As we set up to watch the 2 drivers, obviously you can see your qualifying leaderboard on the left there. Indominus Rex, followed by AG Capadona, followed by Incognito Bear, The Real, Bossy Boy, Loose Spot, Melodic, Ridley, Critical Noob, Nikolai and Drip Department rounds off the top 10 drivers. Looking backwards on the grid, P15, correction 13 is Sims. Obviously all the drivers move forward by 1 position due to Kaya not racing. Unfortunately the 2 Lotuses back in P18 and P19, their star driver unfortunately was called up and signed by McLaren F1. Didn't have a particularly great race. There were expectations for him to be at the front. Obviously, that front battle, if you were tuning into that, was completely won by Capitan and Decker. Capitan able to win that battle at the end of it and got his first ever race win. So there you can see the announcement for the staff to remove themselves from the track because the drivers are getting ready to start the formation lap, I believe. The leaderboard has been set on the left. Oop, for some reason that's on 10,000 laps. Don't think that's quite right. Those of you who haven't checked it out, make sure to check out the F1 stream if you were able to catch it, or check the highlights which will be coming in the coming week of the race. Capitan was able to take the win for E-Spirit. Decker in P2, there's a great battle throughout the race. It was very close at the end, and there's some other great midfield battles. There's also a massive collision. Okay, so there we see the announcement. The sprint race will be 10 laps and the feature will be 30 laps. So all the teams will need to take that into consideration for their strategy. Then they'll be working out how many stints they want to do, when they want to box. In F2 we don't have compounds, so they won't be needed to have to consider that or weight in terms of fuel. Oh, it's been changed to 25. Obviously that's calculated to do with a formula with the fastest lap from qualifying. So the faster the lap, more laps there'll be to meet a standard time for each race. Looks like the drivers are eager to go now. Seems like there's some sort of delay for some reason, not sure at this time. If we take a look back at the driver standings, you see that AG Capadona, the driver currently in P1, P2, sorry, is currently position 6 in the championship. The driver who is taking the lead, Indominus Rex, seems to be further down, obviously, in all the way in P20. He was unable to... he joined slightly later, so obviously he's had less races to obtain more points. So that's been tougher for him. We'll just hide that now. Waiting for them to set off. So the feature race is now 32, they're confirming. So again, the drivers, the teams will have to reconsider their strategy. I know Brandstar have a very strong team. I believe they use some of their engineers, which they use for the other race. And I'm now joined by Dpod, who has come back. Dpod, how are you doing?
Hello. I'm good. I'm very excited for the F2 race. It's always fun to watch. The racing's slightly closer than F1, and we had an absolutely banger of an F1 race. The final positions couldn't be confirmed until they actually crossed the line, so I'm very excited to see how the F2 race plays out.
Yeah, sure did, and I hope we can see the same or similar thing in the sprint and feature race. Obviously we've got a different lineup, a lot of drivers being called up to F1, meaning that there's room for more underdogs, and it's always nice to see the future F1 drivers working their way and showing off their talent.
I can see that the Lotuses are lining up at the back of the grid. Brandstars are surprisingly low. Usually see them up in the top 6, and now, well, they're not in the top 6. They're in the bottom 10.
Yeah, Katano managing to lock out the front grid, front row, apologies. So that'll be crucial for their constructor points. Obviously, we've discussed previously twice the large midfield battle. So that'll be really crucial to get them ahead of the competition, so they can edge up into P4 or extend their lead in P4, and put their eyes towards AMR, who are currently in P3. So there are the drivers jumping in and out just to reset the leaderboard, signifying that we're going to be heading off any moment now. Seems like there's some sort of delay still, not sure at this time.
There's a car coming out of the pits.
Ah, that'll be why. Oh, it's Zaza.
That's Zazarix.
Yeah. The Porsche driver. Porsche doing not too bad for themselves in the constructors, surprising. Probably because they've...
Is anyone going to tell him that he's not coming out of the pits? Oh, he just drove straight on out of the pits and didn't actually turn around. I believe he must have been AFK.
There he goes, dawdling along. Obviously, for those of you not aware, during the sprint race, collisions are turned on, meaning overtakes are much harder for the drivers. They're no longer able to ghost through each other. That's usually after lap 2 or 3. You'll see in the left-hand side, where it's currently yellow, indicating the flag will turn red. That doesn't mean the real red flag. That will mean that collisions have been turned on. There is Zaza taking his position on the grid. Hopefully any moment now we should be seeing the light sequence. So you can see the lights there in the top left of your screen. So we've just had another confirmation. The feature is 21 laps long. Sprint will be 10 laps long. I think that's going to be their final decision.
Yeah.
Here we go, watching the light as we see the light sequence come on there. 3, 4, 5 red lights. Oh, and we're away now for round 8 of the Mexican sprint race. Century GP gets a good start. Loose Bot is up there as AG Capadona is using extreme track limits, pulling round the right. Real Botty Boy is already up to the front as well. Obviously extremely hard to tell who's out front, but by the looks of it, it's AG Capadona at this time. The Real Botty Boy seems to get a flying start. He's really battling with him at the front. Vexala is now joining the party along with Melodic Adrian, who's just behind in P3. Loose Spot is just behind them too, with the Vexala driver of Real Miggy. AG Capadona still in the lead, 0.1 of a gap behind to the Real Botty Boy as they go into turn 4 now. AG Capadona getting a
I was going to say, it looked like the Aston Martin, I'm not sure which one, it got a very good start off of the line, but through turns 2 and 3, it's fallen back in below the top 10.
Yeah,
that would have been critical,
There's
noob.
a big change there. Both Century GP drivers were able to get a good start, along with Loose Bot. He got a good start, and now the Real Miggy and the Real, Melodic and the Real Botty Boy are both challenging AG Capadona's lead. I think the driver who dropped back there was Indominus Rex. He was starting in P1 on pole position, obviously getting those 4 constructor points. He's all the way down in P14, so he must have had a catastrophic start. So we see the drivers coming around the final corner out onto the straight, swerving around to avoid giving the car behind a slipstream and an advantage. Real Miggy currently with the fastest lap. And our current standings with AG Capitona in the league, followed by the Real Bossy Boy. Oh! And that looked like a car which flipped over there. I'm not sure if that was or just some kind of vision lag.
I can't see anything. I
Been
can't see
some
anyone
sort of
falling
slip up.
behind.
Yeah, there's been some sort of slip up from Melodic there. He set a yellow sector 1 and now Loosebot is into P2. Setting a purple sector 1 as well as he's following along in AG Capadona's footsteps. Oh! As Loosebot runs wide there over the curbs. And that's a Vexala which has gone off there. That's the Vexala of Real Miggy. He clips the inside curbs and spins off to the right now. He's dropping down all the way to P9 by the looks of it. That's really
Curbs in the stadium section are completely unforgiving. If you go off, you're just being bounced up and down until you get out of it, and it feels like an eternity of time that has been lost by running off into that section.
Yeah, definitely. AG Capitona now setting a new fastest time as Loosebot is falling back to the crowd behind him of the Real Bossy Boy, Incognito Bear and Criticals, the AMR and the Century GP driver. It's going to be a really interesting fight for P2 as AG Capitona seems to be pulling away from that pack now. Currently at a gap of 2.3 seconds. Yep, and the Real Bossy Boy has overtaken Loosebot. Taken the P2 as Loosebot comes back with a slipstream there. As we see the announcement, collisions are going to be turning on in 10 seconds. It's going to be crucial for Loosebot or the Real Bossy Boy to get ahead, because if they're inside each other in collisions, that's going to cause catastrophe for both of them. There we see the red flag. Oh! And Loosebot hits into the side
lost
of Real
traction.
Bossy.
Loosebot lost traction.
Off he goes. He's got to rejoin the track safely there. He doesn't want to collide with anyone else. My word, I already said it was going to happen.
Behind him.
That's really going to cost him time. He tried to get past the Real Boy. I'm not sure what happened there because there's a bit of lag, but he seemed to like hit into them as he was trying to make a move, and he spun.
I think Loosebot just lost traction as he was exiting the stadium section.
Maybe he got on the power too quickly. Seems to have minimised the damage though. He's only down in P4 by the looks of it. Right on the tail of Incognito Bear, but he's just making more work that he's got to do. Looking back, the current championship leader, Melodic, all the way down in P8. I really don't think he's going to be happy with that at the moment. He's looking to try and work his way back up that grid.
Melodic drifting that corner. Go on. And one of the brand stars has been crashed into. It's spun off. That would be F1OX, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. He was not the driver who qualified for them. So there must have been some sort of last minute change there by Cheyenne and his team. Yeah, really going slow.
Yeah, but Melodic was completely drifting the first turn.
He collides with the Lotus on that back straight there on the exit. Looking forwards now, that front grid seems to have settled slightly. AG Capadona's got a 3-second lead. Incognito following behind by about 2 seconds. Loosebot 1.5 seconds behind him. And the Windsor driver of Telerosso is going to be 2 seconds behind him as well. So, seems to spread out as Loosebot's right on the tail of Incognito now. Is he going to try and make a move and dive into the inside here? Stays behind him. Continuing to follow along, trying to fight for that podium position, obviously, of the sprint race, and not mattering as much, but still crucial points for him and his team. Valor F2 currently in P8 in the constructors. He's now going to have the slipstream on that back straight. He's trying to look to go on the inside, is unable to do it. Goes to look around the outside, can't either, and he seems to have dropped back slightly there. Wonder if his team have told him to just maintain the gap, don't worry about trying to make the move. They're fighting side by side now. His vision lag doesn't help, but it looks like he's really trying to make a move now. He's side by side with him, going around the outside. Has he gained the position? Come around the last 2 corners. No, and he's just behind.
He looks as if he may have fallen back quite considerably.
Yeah. There you can see Real Botty Boy out in front. He's managed to get himself a lead as these two are scrapping away. It's really losing loose spot time. He's made the move to go around the inside. Is he going to dive it into this corner? Can he break later than the Windsor driver? Seems like he has.
I believe he may have.
Oh, and they've collided!
As Loose Spots goes round!
That looked like Incognito
Loose
came
Spot
across
spun.
the front of him there. I'm not sure. We'll have to get a replay on that if we're able to. But that looked like Loose Spot had the room, and Incognito went across the front of him. D-Pod, if you're able to check that back, that would be interesting. I'm not sure what happened there.
Yeah, I can pull that up.
Loose Spot now trailing behind Incognito. Incognito seeming to have caught up slightly to the Real Bossy Boy, who's now 4 seconds behind AG Capadona. We're over halfway through this sprint race.
Should be able to see this on this feed that you have available. I'm going to just try rewind it a bit.
Oh yeah, that's very laggy. Oh, and there's a crash, there we go. Anyway, looking
Hang
back
on.
now, Loose Spot right is managed to
Go back
catch
a
up to
bit.
Incognito there. Right on his tail. He's now got this long back straight. Is he going to look to go down the inside? Or
Here we go, yep, here's... I'll just slow this down a bit. This is the point where they both did collide. Loose Spot was sent spinning round.
Interesting. Interesting. It would be useful if we had another angle, because that wall was kind of in the way there. But I really don't know what happened. We'll have to see who was more ahead, maybe. I'm sure I'll be investigating after. While we look back, Loose Spot seems to have been trying to go around the outside. Oh, and he clips the
I
exit.
wonder if
Clips
Loose
the
Spot
exit
may have
curb and he
just
spun
lost
out
it.
into the wall. He completely spun out to the wall, losing positions now to Critical, Real Miggy, and he's lost those positions. He's dropped down to P6. That's really going to be crucial. Again, he's tried to make the overtake. He's been pushed wide onto the gravel and has had to go over those bumps. So that could really cost him now. Really struggling to get past Incognito. I wonder if he was going to complain about that later. AG Capadona, meanwhile, out front, has now got a 6.3 second lead. Already up to back markers of the TriStar team. 6.15 now is the gap. As we look down, Critical is now right. Critical Newt is right on the tail of Incognito Bear. He's going to be looking to get that P3 point.
Someone else has spun round. It looks to be TriStar.
Yeah.
That's Esper XC. They've spun round.
Doesn't seem to be moving for some reason. He doesn't want to hit into faster cars coming along. There we see Loose Spot coming past, followed by Tesla Russell.
Yep, he's now taking this opportunity. He's turning around.
Yeah, there he goes. Melodic all the way down in P13. What on earth has happened to him? The current championship leader.
Breathy May has just been getting a little bit slidey.
Yeah, the current championship leader all the way down in P13. Really not sure what's happening there as he goes through the castle section. He's going to be looking to have a better feature race, I'm sure. Hopefully get some points for Century GP. I'm sure they won't use their lead at all this season, but better to be safe than sorry, I'm sure TDM fan would agree. gap seems to be being brought down now by the second Century GP driver, the real bossy boy, down to 5 seconds. As Critical is right on the tail of Incognito Bear. Going along that back straight, not going to make a move now, just getting closer and closer. As we're on our penultimate lap now, second to last lap. Driver's going to be really looking to make a move whenever they can, seize the opportunity and get as much points as they can, and aid them in the reverse grid for the feature race. Oh, Critical Noob losing the... Oh, and that's a Lotus there, which seems to be beached on those curbs. That is the Lotus of Rockhun 6384. He's beached on those exit curbs in the stadium section. I wonder if there'll be a yellow flag brought out. I'm not sure.
He cannot get out of his current position. I'm wondering if he's stuck actually in the curb, because the curb goes through his car.
Yeah, it's possible. I wonder if just because they've got such a low clearance, he's managed to balance it somehow right in the middle of the floor, so neither of his wheels are touching the ground.
Well, the rear right wheel is inside of the curb, and the left rear wheel is in the air, so...
Looking forwards now, Loose Spot has made his way up to P5. He's overtaken Real Miggy on this final lap, as the real Botty Boy is closing that gap to AG Capadona. He's come down by another second over one lap, but he's surely not going to do it in time. Still a 4-second lead AG Capadona has over the real Botty Boy, as Loose Spot is now approaching P4 of Critical Noob. Is he going to try and look to make a move on this final lap? There he is trailing along. About to reach sector 3.
Is there a server freeze? Oh, well there was for a second.
Oh, seems to have a little bit of a slide of the rear end. As they go through that stadium section, come across. The gap is less than 2 seconds, about 1.7 seconds. And across the line they go. AG Capadona wins the sprint race at Mexico, closely followed by the real Botty Boy in a gap of 3.4 seconds. Incognito Bear finishes off the podium, followed by Critical Noob, the AMR driver. Loose Spot manages to regain to a certain extent with a reasonable P5. Real Miggy capping off P6, the first and top Vexala driver. Seems to be the only Vexala driver today. Drip department of the Brandstar team takes P7. Ridley, who we've seen a lot of potential for previously from Porsche, only is able to get P8, finish off the points, but he will have the reverse pole for the feature race. Talarossa of Windsor comes home to take P9, and Indominus Rex, the man who started on pole for Catano Sport, only is able to take home P10 and no points, only the 4 points he gets from starting on pole. Melodic Adrian, the current championship leader, is only able to take P11 with a large gap in front of him, nearly losing it to P12, Nikolai, the TriStar driver. Zaza of Porsche, the teammate of Ridley, is only able to take 13, followed by Sims of Valor F2, who takes 14. Haven't seen him for a long time. F1, the quick replacement driver of Brandstar, comes home to take P15, followed by Esper, the driver who saw spinning around previously, comes home to take 16 for TriStar. Then followed by P17 and P18 of the two Lotus drivers, unable to get Lotus any more points than they had of their tremendous victory last weekend, and capped off by Broman, who doesn't seem to have finished the race. And that's our current finishing standings for the sprint race. Join us back momentarily in 2 minutes, where we will be lining up for the feature race and the last race of round 8 of the Ion F2 Championship. Welcome back now as we see the drivers lining up on the reverse grid for the second and the final race today for the Ion F2 Championship Round 8 at Mexico, the final one of the year. We had a brilliant sprint race in my opinion. We saw some new drivers up at the front, the real Botty Boy showing some true pace in P2. But yeah, they're now lining up for the feature race, the most important one, which gives them the most points, obviously points from 1 to 10. There we see our reverse grid, Dominus Rex taking P1, Telerossa P2, Ridley of the Porsche driver P3, and Drifton Hartman taking P4, wrapping off the front two grid, followed by Real Miggy in P5, Loose Spot P6 of the Valor F2 driver, seeing some real potential, now with no collision. Can he look forward to a podium? Critical Noob, not sure what he's doing there, we'll leave him out. Incognito Bear, followed by the Real Bossy Boy. Obviously, he took P2 in the sprint race. Reverse grid moves all the way down in P9. He'll be looking to get possibly a proper podium again in the feature race. And topping off our top 10, the sprint race winner, AG Capadona. So Depod, what are your predictions for this feature race? Who do you think is going to come home to take the win?
Well, we saw some pretty good pace in the last race, so I'm assuming that the people who did well in the last race are also going to do pretty well in this race. However, the people, because of the reverse grid, the people up at the front, they may also be able to stick in their positions, such as Indominus Rex, Tesla Rossa. Because these cars are so balanced, it's pretty much anyone's game. It just depends who has the better weekend, really, talent-wise. So I'm not sure you could really predict anything, but I am going to say that we are going to see a couple people climb back up through the field.
For sure, yeah. It'd be nice to see maybe Melodic try and recover from his poor sprint race, but if he hasn't got the pace in the sprint race, the question begs, is he going to have it in the feature race? We're going to see a little bit of strategy here, being confirmed that the feature race is 21 laps long. That's going to mean they're going to take at least one pit stop, so teams are going to have to decide when, and obviously they don't need to decide what compound. Despite us seeing different compounds, they do not have effect, we are told. But yeah, drivers will need to, teams will need to decide when, and that could really impact the race. So now an element of team strategy engineering comes into it.
Would be nice to one day see F2 be able to run the different compounds.
Yeah, it would. Here we go, watch the lights now. Dominor S6 in P1, 3, 4, 5, all the red lights. And away we go for the feature race of the Mexican Grand Prix. AG Capadona gets a flying start there, moving across the middle. Ridley 03 also moving up. Still the Catano driver taking the lead. Loose Spot seems to be out to the front now. He's got some real pace coming into turn 1. The Vexala driver, Real Miggy, also pushing to the front. He's got a great scrap for the front. Real Miggy seems to be getting away. Oh, as that's the Real Bossy Boy spinning as he comes around turn 3 there. And to turn 4 onto the home straight. And Dominus Rex and Real Miggy fighting it out for the lead. Followed by the Century GP driver and the AMR. Miggy currently got the lead, but it's close behind Indominus and Critical behind him. Miggy slowly getting away.
I'm just going to say, the brand star at the back, that's F10X, had an absolutely terrible start. There's already at least 7 seconds between him and P16. At the moment it's saying 6.5, but unless there's some, well, that's now 8.8 seconds to the lead. If you're going to have starts like that, then you can't really be racing because there's now a massive gap between him and the car in front.
Something's definitely gone wrong there with the Brandstar team, as I said. I didn't see him in qualifying. I wouldn't be surprised if he's released and a new main is signed. Now looking forward to the front of the grid. Loosebot is right on the tail. Melodic has set a fastest lap. He's up with the top 3 as Real Miggy and Loosebot are going at it for the lead. Now Melodic's joining the fight.
Very, very close.
Telerossa.
We have some people going wide.
And that's Loosebot who seems to
And we also have a
now.
spinner. We had a Porsche spinning. That would have been... Can't actually tell, but there was a Porsche spinning.
Loosebot diving into turn 1. Real Miggy right behind him. What a great battle is going on in the front here. And you've got Indominus Rex behind, AG Capadona and Melodic all trying to join the party up at front. But right now it's Loosebot and Real Miggy fighting out for that lead. Real Miggy currently leading. Loosebot saying a purple sector 2 there. We saw him run wide at turn 4. So that may have cost him some time, and he seems to be dropping that slightly. Melodic is right on his tail, ready to swallow him and take that P2.
Testarossa and Incognito, but in the Windsors, they are very consistent. They're right next to each other, and they are teammates. So it's a good driver pairing from that team.
Yeah, great points for their constructor as well to help the reboot. Loosebot getting... Oh, sorry. Correction. Drip Department getting the fast lap. He's now joining in the action. Melodic is right behind. Loosebot right behind Real Miggy. 0.4 of a gap. Drip Department about half a second behind Melodic as well. So there's a great battle behind Melodic for P5 and onwards. Melodic has seemed to secure P3 for now, but he seems to be joining the top. Drip Department right on the back of Melodic along this back straight. He's going to really use that slipstream to his advantage, diving into that heavy braking zone. Loosebot neck and neck with Real Miggy again in this same section. If Loosebot could not lose out that time he had in the second sector, he may have a chance of taking this lead. Seems he's already had a yellow sector 1, may be suffering.
He was running very wide through that stadium section. Seems like everyone does seem to be running wide through that stadium section. You've got to judge it by, if you run wide, you may be able to gain time, but if you run too wide, you're going to end up beaching your car, as we saw in the last race, on the curbs, and that's definitely not what you want, because you get everything you want by running wide, but there's also a big chance that you're going to get absolutely nothing.
Definitely. Coming along the home straight now, the longest straight. Loosebot, Real Miggy leads, followed by Loosebot and Melodic Adrian. Both those second and third, seeing the true effects of a slipstream. Diving into turn 1. Can Loosebot make a move on him? It's where we saw him lose his sprint race there. He's following him quite well, to be fair. So yeah, oh, as Real Miggy clips the inside and slides slightly, that's really going to lose him time now. Loosebot's got the slipstream on his back straight. Is he going to be able to make a move into this corner, heavy braking zone, and take the lead of today's feature race? The last one of 2020.
Neck and neck.
Goes around the inside. It's completely neck and neck. This same section where they're right up with each other. They're there again. Loosebot and Real Miggy battling it out.
It's nice saying just 4/10 between the two drivers.
Yeah, it seems Miggy's just got the edge, and this stadium section is where we've seen Miggy seem to slightly get away. Capitan is now joining, Melodic is now joining the action. He's set a green sector 2. Oh! A Melodic runs
and there
wide
is
over
a...
the bumps.
I was going to say, it's a Centauri going over the bumps.
He somehow recovered it slightly, I think, but I see him dropping back now through that straight. Yeah, he's nowhere to be seen now. There he is in that gap of the midfield battle. Loosebot right on the tail of Real Miggy. He's going to have that slipstream, battling into the turn 1, and that may be Melodic's consideration for a podium gone. His hopes for a podium gone for this feature race. I don't know where he's got this
Drip
pace from.
Department is running P3. But it looks as if he's fallen back.
Yeah, there's a great
Maybe
battle
Melodic
for,
has managed to hold on to that position.
There'll be a great battle for P3 right now, along with this battle for the front. We've got multiple battles to choose from. That seems to be a battle of like 5 drivers for position 3.
You've got the 2 Windsors, you've got the Brandstar, you've got the Centauri, and you've also got the you've also got a couple cars falling
AG
behind
Capadona and now
slightly.
Indominus Rex joining the party. looks absolutely mad. Oh, that's Real Miggy! That's Real
Not
Miggy
sure.
falling back! Real Miggy is falling back to that bunch. He must have made an error. Now Loosebot has the lead. What on earth happened there? 3.5 seconds Loosebot is ahead. That's really going to aid him for a win now.
Real Miggy falling back seems like he just received an invite to the party of the Battle for P3, which has now become the Battle for P2. And it looks like Real Miggy was going wide.
And he is going wide. He's dropping back now. That's at least 6 drivers fighting for
He's also
position
sliding
in
around
P3.
slightly. He's going to have fallen back loads of positions as they now cross the line. He's fallen back. He's gone from P2 to P5. Only Tesla Rossa is behind him, realistically, and a chance of overtaking him. But don't count out Indominus Rex and AG Capadonna. They are up there with them as well.
Definitely. We've seen the pace from him. Dominus seems to have pulled something out of the bag after he had a disastrous sprint race. But Lodic currently leading that pack in P2. Gap to the leader being 4 seconds. Drip Department is right on his tail, followed by the 2 Windsors and Real Miggy, who was previously, this time last lap, in the lead. There we see them going past that heavy braking zone, absolutely neck and neck with everyone. Melodic seems to have the fine sharp edge there, just getting away, followed by the Brandstar, and then it's an absolute brawl for everyone. See if that gap reduces from 4 seconds to the leader when they come across that line, because Melodic is going to really have his eyes forward. He's going to be hunting for that win, but Loosebot is just going to say, no, I need this. Real Miggy obviously
it's all incredibly close.
Yeah, very
just
close.
6.3 seconds separate the top 6. That's less, well, nearly a second per position.
Loosebot comes across that line. What is the gap to Melodic Adrian going to be? 3.2, so it's dropped down by nearly a second. Melodic is really catching up to Loosebot, and we've still got a long way to go in this race. Melodic seems to be getting away from that pack, along with Drip Department, to be fair. Drip Department has kept a consistent gap to him. And that party, which we are all enjoying, seems to have broken up into a dismal gathering. Only 3 drivers, really, of Telerossa, and his teammate, Incognito, and the AMR behind them of Critical.
Now 7 seconds separate the top 5, nearly 8 seconds separate the top 6. Overall, not many large position changes. The Real Body Boy is in P16 after finishing in the top 3 of the sprint race.
Great battle right now.
This race is
between
exactly
Drip Department and Melodic for P2.
They're neck and neck, quite literally. The last sector they crossed, they were the exact same distance behind the leader of Loosebot.
It's going to be interesting to see. Drip Department has seemed to pull some pace out of nowhere, really. But the battling between them seems to have aided to Loosebot, as the gap has increased to 4 seconds. We'll now see an updated of 3.629 as Real Miggy steals the fastest lap. Oh, he may have had it before. Apologies.
Yeah, Real Miggy had the fastest lap before. No one's been able to take it away from him. Nobody's been improving. The only person to improve this lap was the Real Body Boy right at the back, but that was only in the first sector. As Nickley is pitting for the TriStar team. Only lap 8. Ideally, you want to be pitting around lap 10 or preferably even later to try and overcut or undercut your rival.
Ooh, sliding the rear there, Drip Department. Crikey. Drip Department and Melodic still at it. 3.4 second gap to leader. Loosebot is really looking strong out front there. His teammate all the way down to P11. Not too bad, and they could get some decent points there for Valor F2. Real Miggy still with the fastest lap. Drip Department and Melodic fighting it out. We'll now see the updated gap as they come across the line. Loose goes there. Drip bounce across the line. 3.4 still staying the same, but Drip Department and Melodic are still scrapping it out.
Everyone seems to be playing the game pretty cleanly. Of course, we don't have collisions during the feature race,
Yeah,
but we
definitely.
do have the exact same prospects of running wide, going off onto curbs, and all of that jazz. So,
Definitely think we later on we
uh,
need to take a look back at that incident with Loose Spot and what was the other driver? Who was it on turn 1?
I believe it was the Real Body Boy,
Yeah.
maybe? They were both running at the top.
Yeah, it may have been. No, I think it was Incognito Bear. They had that incident on turn 1, so I definitely would like to get a second view of that. Maybe if one of them had their point of view on, because it looked like Blue Spot was in front, made the move of the overtake, and then suddenly Incognito glitched and was side by side with him up to the inside, and kind of hit him in the side and spun him round. So it'd be interesting to see. Obviously,
Yeah, because he lost it from his right rear.
yeah. So that begs the opinion: was he behind and clipped him from behind? Obviously, I'm trying not to put my biased opinion on the Valor team. And interestingly enough now, Drip Department has pulled away from Melodic, and the gap to the leader is only 1.4 seconds. So he's secured that second place, surely, and he is now right on the tail of Loose Spot. And to me, that doesn't say that
Loose Spot managed to pull a big gap.
It doesn't
Yeah,
say
Loose Spot managed to pull a big gap.
Yeah, he's pulled the gap, but I think Drip Department's just put his foot down, really. Because if you look at the gap back to Melodic, it seems to have stayed similar. Drip Department's pulled some pace out of nowhere. Interestingly, we're now coming up, we are halfway through the race, so it'll be interesting to see, does Loose Spot box this lap? And in retaliation, will Drip Department try and go out for one lap? Or will he come in at the same time to prevent the undercut?
Drip Department's coming in. Drip Department's coming in.
He's going for the undercut on Loose Spot then. But obviously there is going to be a negative. Oh, he's hit the wall there. That may have slowed him down. There is a negative of that. If Loose Spot boxes later, he's going to have a faster pace towards the end of the race. Melodic Adrian coming in at the same time, along with Real Miggy and Telerossa and Incognito Bear. So that is 5
and Critical.
Yeah.
And Indominus Rex and AD Capadonna. Everyone's coming in. It's a party
like
in the pit lane.
Half the grid's come in to have a little party. Look at that chaos behind. It's interesting to see the gap. If Loose Spot does box this lap, where will he come out? If the undercut has worked for the team, in theory, Loose Spot should come out behind Drip Department. And he had a 1.5 second gap before, so it'll be interesting to see what the gap will be when they come out. Sims now, all the way up in
Drip
P3.
Department has probably been told by his team to put the foot down. We want to get this position off of Loose Spot. So when he comes into the pits, it's going to be very interesting to see. Is Drip Department your net leader, or Loose Spot keep it?
Definitely. Sims now, the teammate of... Oh, massive lag. There we go. Sims, the teammate of Drip Department, currently battling with each other. Obviously, Sims has not taken a pit stop yet, so that's an unproportional battle. Melodic right behind him. That's going to help, if anything, Drip Department's pace, as he will have a slipstream. Oh, and Drip Department has set a green sector 2 there. That's just going to show his pace of how he's pushing. Loose Spot stays out. Loose Spot stays out. He does not box. He runs wide onto the gravel. That's going to cost him.
He must be confident about his tyres, but if he was confident not boxing and he's just run wide, then that's evidence that these tyres are not going to last very much longer. He's already sliding, coming into the second DRS zone.
Is
he going to box? If he doesn't box, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Is there a
The longer he stays out, he'll lose more time.
Is there a question about this? And it seems crazy, but the gap to Drip Department now is 23 seconds. Have the strategy team at Valor F2 gone 23 seconds? Yes, we're going to lose a lot of time if we stay out the whole time, but We reckon we can lose less than 23 seconds. Is there an argument there?
Well, that time's just fallen to 20.8
Yeah.
seconds, so if it's already fallen by 2 seconds in one lap, and we've got 8 laps remaining, you can do the math, that's 16 seconds. Do they think a 4-second buffer with degrading tyres is going to be enough for Loosebot to finish in the lead?
And I think you've also got to consider with that, though, Loosebot's situation will only get worse. So the gap. Oh, and he
And he
dives
comes
into the
into
box
the pit.
now. So how much of the undercut is going to have worked? It'll be interesting to see. Loosebot is really going to need a fast stop. Sliding.
Is
about
the
like
pit
anything.
stop worth 19 seconds? Because if it is, they're going to be neck and neck. If it's more,
Ooh,
Drip Department is going to
something's
be into
gone
the
wrong
lead.
there with
I
the
believe
pit
Drip
stop,
Department. I
Where's
believe
Drip
Drip Department was 22
crossing
seconds
the line
ahead.
already?
Yeah, Drip Department crossing.
Loose
Drip Department up into P2.
Loose is only just coming out of the pit lane now. Loose is going to be coming out, I believe, in P4. So the undercut has worked for them, but Loosebot is now going to be on much fresher soft tyres. He's going to be looking to push, catch up with Melodic, catch up with Drip Department, and Melodic actually, who's overtaken Drip Department, both of them setting a green sector 1.
But you've got to remember that is a 6.5 second gap now between Drip Department and Loosebot. It's a crazy thing to think that you'll be able to make that time up in just 7 laps, but this is F2. There's so little dirty air compared to F1. You can, and that's Drip Department going wide, you can make up time like that.
Yeah, interestingly, Melodic has really pulled out pace now. If he can get a pace under his belt, which is similar to Loosebot's fast pace on these fresh new tyres, he could have confirmed himself a win here, and Loosebot could only be considering a P2 if he can catch up with Drip Department. As Loosebot sets a purple sector 2 now. This is going to be really interesting. He's got 7 laps to try and catch up.
He's going to be
front runners.
climbing hard. He's going to be pushing as much as he can.
We are going to have another end lap battle again. Just like an F1, F2 should be ending us with another last lap battle.
I believe B Guys yesterday, he may have just spun the trick on these races because he said that this track is pretty boring. But the end of these races that it's brought us have been the opposite. They've been extremely interesting. I haven't seen a battle like this between positions for a very long time.
Yeah, 100%. B Guys, you have uncursed it. Melodic currently with the fastest lap, so that was when he was pushing and overtaking Real Miguel. We didn't quite catch that. But Luce is going to be looking to possibly steal that. If he's on a fresher compound of tyre, sets a yellow sector 1 though. Gap to the leader is still 11 seconds. And obviously to Drip Department, that's about 8.5 seconds. He's beginning to catch up with Real Miggy though, who's about 2 seconds ahead of him. His pace seems to have dropped. That's really not going to be helping Loose, but if he does want to even consider a podium.
Melodic seems to be holding it pretty sturdy out in front. We've seen this pace with him before, time and time again.
Definitely.
He's done incredibly well in F2. He did very well in his debut in F1, although he did drop back, so he can continue to fight in F2, fight for his championship position.
Loosebot set a purple lap. He's got the fastest lap now. I don't know how, because he set yellow sectors across all of them, but he seems to have got the fastest lap. So maybe there's some sort of glitch in the leaderboard and Loose has been pushing. The gap, in fact, yeah, the gap is down to 9.8 seconds, which it was from 11 seconds. So Loose is really pushing, and he's going to be right on the tail of Real Miggy.
He's not going to be conceding this too easily. He's going to want a podium. He's going to want to celebrate. There isn't one driver in the world that could get a podium, and he's just going to give one up. Because the second you do that, well, you're not really a racing driver.
Definitely. Right on the tail of Real Miggy, who's currently in P3. Can he steal it away from Real Miggy and confirm himself a podium? And then his eyes will be forward to Drip Department, who's dropped now 5 seconds behind Melodic. And then consider even Melodic for the win. What a great battle that's going on here. Loosebot is going to have the slipstream as they come onto this home straight. Can Loosebot get the position from Real Miggy as they will go into turn 1, or will he have to stay behind? The gap is now
They
down
are
to
very,
8.5.
very, very close.
Gap to lead is 8.5, so that's already dropped down by nearly 3 seconds over 1 and a bit laps.
Loosebot has gotten ahead of the Real Miggy.
There he is, going through that tight left, right section. Getting away, but Real Miggy may come back with the slipstream. Loosebot's really got to try and... Yeah, there you see, he moves to the right to try and avoid him from getting the slipstream into the heavy braking zone. Loosebot just trying to get out of that reach of slipstream, give him some dirty air, and then his eyes will be forward to Drip Department, who's only about 3 seconds ahead. You can see him just in the distance there. This is a great battle for P3 between Real Miggy and Loosebot.
They're both pushing like mad, but Loosebot has fresher tyres, meaning he has better pace. So he's the one who's going to be gaining time, and the Real Miggy looks to be the one who will have to concede in this battle.
Definitely. And that's now half a second Loosebot has brought down in those 2 sectors against Melodic. He's really pushing, and he seems to have gotten away from Real Miggy now. There you can see Melodic turning into turn 1 as Loosebot just comes onto the home straight. Loosebot's sides are going to be looking forward to Drip Department. He's got himself a P3, but he's not going to be happy with that. He wants more.
Shay is going to be on the radio telling telling Drip Department, sorry, get pushing. Loosebot's behind you. He's going to be on your diffuser any second now. So it's going to be very interesting to see what position that Brand Star can hang on to. If he could just clench P2, or if he has to concede to position 3.
Definitely. What great pace he's pulling out of the back here. Now down to 7 seconds. He's really chunking time out like a piece of wood from the gap between him and Melodic. Now only 2 seconds behind Drip Department, and he's got 3 laps to try and overtake him. I think Melodic is going to be too far out of reach, but Drip Department is still very much a possibility. Now under 7-second gap to the leader. Drip Department's up to 6 seconds. That is now a 1 second gap Loosebot has to Drip Department, and he's got 3 laps to make this move. Surely it's possible. On the fresh tyres, he is slowly going to be feeling more and more wet. Oh, as Drip Department goes wide, slipping about there.
That's going to lose him time. That 1 second gap is going to get smaller and smaller. We're going to see what that gap becomes as they both cross the line. But the gap between them 2 drivers is incredibly thin.
My word, 0.4 of a second.
Loosebot is now on top of that battle. We're going to see how that turns up as they now head into the tight and technical sections. But it's not looking good for the Brand Star.
Has Loosebot got that P2? Can he try and push as much as he can to get away and get as close as possible to Melodic? The timer is saying he's ahead. It's still very close. Drip Department's going to be trying to get that slipstream as they go into the heavy braking zone. Who can outbrake each other? Loosebot just a tad ahead. He's got the fine edge. He's pulling away now. Gets on the gas very quickly. Coming into the Coming into the stadium section.
Who's gonna be looking out for Melodic then? Is Melodic's team just gonna be looking behind slightly, just gonna peer over to Loosebot and dismiss him, or are they gonna be
heads over their shoulder, surely? But I think
are they gonna be concerned about that performance?
I think they're always gonna have that in the back of their mind that he's pushed his way, but it's still a 6.5 second gap to make up in what will now be 2 laps. If he is able to make up that gap, that would be the greatest performance I've ever seen in Ion. There is Loosebot desperately swerving from left to right to try and avoid giving Drip Department the slipstream.
You swerve left and right to stop them gaining time, but by doing that you also lose time. So you've got to make sure you're not doing that too much, because you don't want them to have a slipstream, but you also don't want them to be able to overtake you whilst you're swerving left and right all over the track.
Definitely. Melodic really cannot afford to slip up here. He's got his lead out front. If he can keep his pace down, he should have a confirmed victory. Currently on the penultimate lap. There you can see that is an incredibly large gap visibly between Loose Spot and Melodic. Surely there's no way Loose Spot's going to be able to do anything further than a P2. Melodic seemed to have pulled the pace out of the bag now. Once he was able to get away from Drip Department and extend that lead of 8 seconds, it really made Loose Spot's day much, much harder. He's breaking the gap down slowly and slowly, but it's just not enough. That's absolutely a tremendous gap to make up in what is now basically one lap as the Melodic comes onto the home straight now. And he starts the final lap of the Mexican feature race, the final F2 race of 2020 ever. There you see Loose Spot come out onto the home straight. He's really going to be giving it everything. Scenario 7 activated, absolutely everything he's got to try and push and get as close as he can to Melodic. That gap's now dropped down to 6.07 seconds. Has Loose Spot reached his maximum speed, or has Melodic put his foot down to try and get away?
F1 OX is now in the way of Melodic, who seems to have just gotten in front of him. He's being lapped as a back marker. However, Loose Spot, it's 6 seconds. It's now 6.1 seconds. Less than a lap. I doubt it can be made up, but he can definitely shrink the gap. It's all down to Melodic now. If he makes a single mistake, then I believe Loose Spot will be able to clinch this win.
100%. Loose Spot is doing as much as he can now. It's down to Melodic to try and keep it consistent if he really wants this win.
He's been proving his performance all weekend and pretty much all season. And I believe that he may be on the charts for the Ferrari drive being made vacant by Dakar next season. If he's going to continue doing performances like this in F2, then if you could do some performances like this in F1, you may see yourself a future F1 champion. But he's now coming down the main straight. He's about to cross the line, and I believe this is your winner, ladies and gentlemen. Melodic Adrian wins in Mexico.
Close behind him, Loose Spot with a 6-second gap. Comes home to take P2. What a great drive he's had. And Drip Department of Brandstar. I'm sure Shea will be happy with a P3. Comes home to take the 3-3, top 3. And that rounds off the podium. There we see Real Miggy crossing the line to take P4. Closely followed by AG Capitona. Incognito Bear of the Windsor now coming across. Along with Indominus Rex, the current pole sitter for the sprint race. Is only able to take P7. Still significant points for Catano. Critical Noob of AMR then crosses the line in P8 as Telerossa for Windsor comes across in P9. Ridley tops off the points for Porsche in P10 with Sims, the Valor F2 Academy driver, unable to get points for him. So it's only going to be Loose Spot who's getting them those points. And that wraps up the top 10 points. We now look over to the podium as the drivers drive over to Parc Ferme and get ready.
This has been a very exciting race, especially those last few laps. The last laps in Mexico always seem to be exciting. We're gonna get to see how exciting they are in GT3 tomorrow, which you should stay tuned for. But yeah, the track quoted by B Guys as being very boring, it's turned out not to be that boring indeed.
Definitely. It seems anything B Guys calls shall be the opposite from now on. Maybe you should be calling every track boring. There we see the Brandstar F2 car currently taking the position in P3. There comes Melodic Adrian in the Century GB car, coming home to cap off that P1 position. And a brand new podium sitter, the newest one we've had so far, Loose Spot of Valor F2 coming home to take P2. I'm sure he'll be over the moon with that position.
Hello.
Hello, Dakar.
Hello, Dakar.
Oh, I want to bounce back on the boring side of the driving. It is actually boring from a driver's point of view, but as a spectator it's actually quite fun.
Very.
Well, would you call that a pro or a con? Because, well, we're the ones who enjoy it, but you're the ones who are doing the job.
Quite of a con, really. I'm looking forward to Japan, but we didn't see the layout yet.
Somebody's doing donuts in front of the media building.
I see that. There we see the drivers and the and the constructor representative waiting to go onto the podium. Just had a sudden realization and then realized it didn't make sense. Shea ready to announce them. There we see Drip Department of Brandstar Academy take his position on the third step of the podium. Obviously, he'll be very happy with that. I'm sure Sheo will be as well. And then we wait for the second driver of Loosebot to come out of the Valor F2 Academy. Best position yet for the team.
HWA.
There we see Loosebot take his proud position on P2, repping the Swedish flag, and now we wait for our winner to come out on the podium. Melodic Adrian, he's driven a fantastic feature race, was unable to get any points in the sprint race, but was able to recover it for the feature race, gets himself significant points for his team, and only but extends it. There he comes out. For some reason, there are 4 people for the constructor representative there. Interestingly, the engineer, the team owner, and some other random person I've never heard of, as Shea removes them. And we wait for the podium celebrations.
I believe they're trying to get the music going. Oh, there we go. That's very loud for me. Oh, the flames came on at the wrong time.
That's too early. Oh dear.
They are still going out.
There we go.
And that's it. Melodic Adrian won the F2 championship.
Is it
As
confirmed?
captain is unable to take part in F2 events, having a podium and a win now.
Yeah, obviously if you didn't check out the F1 stream, make sure to check that out. It's a very thrilling race between the Cairns joining us right now, and between the E-Spirit debut from Capitan and a previous second constructor for the F2. Now it's unable to compete in any amateur series due to the iron rolls, as he got podium and win. Those are the drivers spraying the champagne.
No, it's not champagne. You can't say
Sorry,
that.
Rose
Roblox
water.
will get us taken down.
Rosewater.
It's Rosewater V3.
Rosewater.
As if V2
in
wasn't
in a
enough.
champagne bottle for some reason.
I have no
Oh.
idea why they would have done that.
And Captain Bo is series restricted, meaning he cannot race in GT3 anymore, having 3 podiums. But he's not racing in F2 today, so that's off topic.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today of round 8 at Mexico for the Iron F2 Championship. Make sure to catch us tomorrow where we'll be streaming the GT3 sprint and feature races. And as I said previously, if you were unable to watch the F1 stream, make sure to watch that where there's a very interesting race. And the race highlights will be coming out later. On behalf of the ION Media team, thank you very much for tuning in, and we shall see you all tomorrow.